Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 4. Okay, hope everybody is doing good as usual. Man, I'm doing good. These little allergies, whenever the weather changes and you get sometimes some cold fronts and winds, you can get the sniffles, so you have to make sure that you cover yourselves and don't get sick, especially around this time, because any type of sniffle and everybody looking at you like, man, get away from me. Hey, let me get into some things that's on my mind first. All right. First thing I want to start with is sports analysts. Now, there are a lot of sports analysts and pundits out there that talk the game, all different sports. The one thing I've noticed about them is they tend to speak certain ways just to kind of rile people up, to get clicks, to get, people excited to call in and things like that. I personally think they should be careful with how they use their language. I think they should use their language differently. So, let me give you an example. Sometimes you'll hear them say, well, such and such a player, he's done. He's washed up. I'll give you an example. Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA on TNT was speaking about Klay Thompson. He said, Klay, he's older. He's not the same player, right? Well, the way he phrased it was sort of like Klay can never get better. Now, as we get older, obviously, we're not going to have the same speed, maybe the same athleticism that we did, some 3-4 years ago. Also, Klay was coming out for two of the most extreme and devastating injuries that athletes endure. ACL tear, which he got, I think, 2.5, 3 years ago, in the finals against Toronto Raptors. Then as he rehabbed it, he was getting ready to get back, and then he tore his Achilles. Okay, so those are two devastating injuries. So Klay was out, for another year, and then this past year, 2021-2022 season, Klay didn't come back to around maybe February, March, somewhere in that area. And it's taking time, because not only do you have to get over the physical part of injury, you got to get over the mental part. You also have to be able to get your endurance and timing back, because the game has changed a little bit. So rather than saying something to the effect of, right now, Klay's not where he was, can he get back to that? Only time will tell. Well, he didn't really phrase it like that. Now, I don't know if he meant to put it in those terms. Like he was saying, Klay will never, Klay, it's going to be hard for Klay to be the same exact player he was prior to injury, because injuries take something away from you. I know, okay? I have twins. I have ACL, full tear on both knees. So I know that injuries take something away from you, but you can get back. You can get back strong. You might just be a millisecond slower. You might not be just as explosive, but you can get back really good. Okay, so I feel like, Chuck and then a lot of these analysts, the language makes it seem like, oh, this person will never be this way. They use analytics. They say stuff like, the analytics state that, hey, you know what? This person is a terrible shooter. Well, no, the analytics is just showing what has happened prior to. So it's like past data. But if the guy comes out and works on that shot, or whatever it is that he's struggling with, he or she can get better. So I really think that language is dangerous, and it really bothers me when I hear people on there, because to me it's reckless. It's really reckless sometimes when you get on there and you start talking about somebody that they're never going to be this, or this person's a bum. You talk about the greatest athletes in the world. They're not bums. Now, are they maybe not as talented as the rest of the people in the NBA at that time? Yeah, you could say it because there's always a hierarchy in sports. But that bum could give anybody could come in and give anybody who's not in the NBA some serious work. So I really feel like you should use terms or different language when you're talking about what they are. I think you should make it seem like, hey, right at this point, you know what, he's struggling. Hey, at this point, he's shooting bad, right? But he has a great game. Games later, he could be better. Now, having said that, there is a time frame where after so many years, you're probably who you are. Because after so many years, you've had enough time to really adjust and show what you can do. I think Clay he might not be back to where he was prior to, but I think as he gets his foot speed back, he starts to work, get better with his rotation, with the angles, he gets his wind and everything, and he adjusts, he's going to be just as valuable. I would say just as valuable as he was prior to his getting his injuries. Achilles tears, I think they really affect people who are explosive when they jump. So, for instance, a person like Jai, if Jai and you know what, I don't want to say that because I don't want to speak anything and something happens. I'm not basically a person who is very explosive. When they get an Achilles tear, it does something to their explosion. Dominique Wilkins was not the same player after he tore his Achilles. I think he even admitted it. His explosion was gone. But he was still effective. He wasn't as explosive as he used to be. But he could still, get up, and he could still jump. He could still dunk, but he kind of changed his game. I think Kobe said the same thing after he tore his Achilles. So there's some injuries that you can still be a great player, but some things are going to be a little bit off. Okay. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I think analysts need to be a little bit more careful and phrase things in a manner in which they don't make it seem absolute. That's just my opinion on it. However you feel about it is however you feel. Also, week and a half ago, it could have been 2 weeks, we had my basketball idol, to show up here in the Sun City, Magic Johnson. He came down to El Paso to speak to the student athletes, and I think it was great. It was awe-striking, I guess, for people who were there. And my wife was like, well, she knows that, I've always been a fan of him ever since I was little, because that's who I modeled my game after when I first started playing. And she's like, well, you should have known about it so you could have went and meet him. And my response is, I'm not really into meeting celebrities. It doesn't mean I don't like them, but I worry that I would be disappointed in this one way. Meeting him, if he's kind of an ass, and from everything I've heard, he's always been pleasant. But I would worry that if I met him and he was an ass, it would destroy how I felt about him. I try to be more to where I can compartmentalize people's behavior, separate the person from the player, right? That's what, we should all do when we're watching sports. Just because somebody has some great, some terrible views, or their views are different than ours, we shouldn't talk bad about that person as a player. We can just say, hey, we don't agree with that person, but I love the way he or she plays. And I've always thought that, because I've heard some stories of people meeting, their idol in sports a lot of times, and they meet them, and they find out that person was a real ass, and it can destroy you. So I've always rather like, hey, you know what? Let me just I'll keep the memory of what I think he could be. But now, if there's a situation where I just happen to be somewhere and I met him, then I meet him. I met him. I won't be all, I don't want to meet him. I just would, go with it and just hope for the best. But that's just kind of how I feel about meeting idols. I'm not sure if that's something that, that you guys think about, who's your favorite idol, and just imagine meeting that person and, and like worrying if that person's going to be cordial and polite or, shitty. All right. Now, I have this question for y'all because this question actually started fights, and this has been on my mind. I had a conversation with someone many years ago, and I've brought this question up throughout the years since this first conversation, so I'm going to pose this question to you guys. The question was, the gentleman said that there are more people that play golf than basketball on any given day. And I said, man, you out your fucking mind if you think that there are more people that play golf on a daily basis than there are basketball. Now, I was like, okay, so you need to elaborate. Are you saying, that is playing like an actual game with referees, or you just saying basketball in general? He says, oh, no. Just in general, there are more people playing golf. I said, okay, first of all, here in the city of El Paso, there are probably maybe 3 or 4 golf courses. Hell, maybe 5. I'll bite in. I'll just say 5. Let's say there are 5 golf courses throughout the day. Okay, you can only play golf from a certain time until like maybe it starts to get dark. Can't really see the ball. You can't hit. Man, you can get on the court at any time. They turn the lights on. We're not just talking about in the gym. We're talking about outside. All the people that play basketball, there's no way that there are more people that play golf than basketball. He was adamant. I was like, I thought he was just playing. He's just trying to rile me up, get a rile. But he was serious. So it was a very, very, very bad conversation, and it got heated. We didn't fight. I mean, he was an older man, so of course, I wasn't gonna try to put no hands on him or anything like that. But it really threw me off. So then the next time I posed this question, years later, there was another, kind of a conversation where it was almost the same. And this, this person like, oh yeah, man, yeah, more people play golf, and I'm like, man, are you serious? Okay, let's look at the northeast part of the country. You don't have, as far as I know, you don't have a ton of golf courses. You might have some, obviously, because it has to get warm. You got to be able to play golf somewhere. But when it gets cold, man, you ain't out there fucking golfing in the snow, So if you're not golfing in the snow, you can go on in a gym. You can go play ball in the gym because it's protected. Hell, I remember playing basketball. One of my friends, and I'm gonna say his name because if he feel a certain type of way, we could get back on the court. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Derek. Derek one time came and picked me up from the house because we was on the phone talking shit to each other about playing. And he was like, well, what you want to do? I said, well, I'm here. Bring that shit. He was like, well, I'm on the way. I was like, all right. Now, mind you, it's pouring raining. Like the rain is almost coming down sideways. I could hear it in his voice. He was kind of probably thinking that I was going to say, man, it's raining outside. I ain't doing that shit. And he could hear it in my voice that I was probably like, I don't want to go outside and play. But neither one of us backed down. About 5 minutes later, he knocking at my door. Let's go. I was like, all right. So we went outside. We walked to the court, played. I don't even remember how long we played, if we won, because it was raining so hard. When the rain was puddling up on the court, you couldn't really bounce the basketball. But we just kind of had this like, nah, we gonna play. So we played in the elements outside. I don't think golfers would play out, in that kind of extreme weather. Hell, I think I remember going to the court playing in the snow. Well, it wasn't snowing, but it had snowed, So, I mean, most of the time on basketball courts, you have gyms. But if you throw in the outside courts, I don't think there's no way that there are more people that play golf on any given day in basketball. So I'd like to know what y'all think, because y'all have to show me proof. There has to be some irrefutable proof, and some data that shows like, well, right here in this region, you have 4,550 people playing golf on today in this city, and you only have 2,000 people playing basketball on this day. I would question the validity of that research, but I might be like, okay, all right, maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt that shit. Bring that shit to me. Okay? All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get into my basketball training ideology. I was asked once, what is one of the most important things that you try to teach when you are training kids? There are a lot of things, all right? But I want to say, and this is just on me, in my opinion, I think that dribbling is the most important part of basketball. I think you have to be able to dribble the basketball to play. Now, you can be a terrible shooter, right? You could be, not really good at defense or possibly passing. But in my humble opinion, dribbling allows you to get to anywhere on the court. Okay, you can get out of any sticky situation if you can dribble the ball. That's just the way I see it. You might not be able to shoot worth a damn, but if you can dribble that ball and get in the paint, dribble around, you might not be able to shoot worth a damn, but you can actually force defenses to collapse on you, and you can hit your shooters. So I really feel like from a philosophical point of view, that's a SAT word. From a philosophical point of view, I feel like dribbling is the most important part of basketball. I would label it number one. So when I'm training kids, obviously, you want to give them all the fundamentals, but I really, really do tons of ball handling, dribbling, right hand, left hand, focusing on the different parts of dribbling, whether it's crossover, between the legs, those sort of things, just so they have a basic grasp. Because then you can work on some of the other stuff while working on their footwork with dribbling. It allows you to get into, the footwork for shooting, layups, passing, and all of that stuff. So to me, and, there's always going to be somebody that disagrees, and that's fine. That's how they view things. I just feel like, this is, what the way I approach things, and it's been successful. Now, shout out to Coach Williams for inquiring about something from the last podcast. He posed a question. I think I've covered this maybe on one of the older podcasts, and I'm gonna reiterate it, bring it up, and use something that I discussed from last week's podcast. He was inquiring about how do guards deal with ball pressure before using a ball screen or pick and roll. Okay. Now, what I would use, and it's specific to when I was talking about the power dribble. That's what I would use if you're at the top and you're just trying to deal with a guard who's maybe aggressive. You have to be aggressive in holding him or her off. Yeah, you can use the bump and the retreat dribble every now and then, but you have to understand whatever play you're running, you have to be ready to make that pass, because most offenses are timing offenses. They set the screen, you run that play over and over and over again. You have a sense of once that person comes, when you're releasing that ball, it's going to be right there when that person gets to that spot. So you don't wait for them to get there. You throw it, as they're coming. So that's timing. In order to be able to have that timing, you need to make sure that you can, I don't want to say slow down the defender, but keep the defender at bay so you can be able to make that pass to him. You have to be able to look over his shoulder. So for me, coach, I would strongly emphasize the power dribble at that angle that I mentioned to hold that defender off. When you watch a lot of high-level guards like Chris Paul, when Magic Johnson played, I'm trying to think. Chris Paul comes to mind because Chris Paul does it a lot, where he's running the offense. They'll put a bigger, longer defender on him. He'll hold him off while he's dribbling, looking over his shoulder, watching the play, and then he'll make his move to make that pass if he's not using a pick and roll. Okay, using a pick and roll is what a lot of guards will use to alleviate, ball pressure, because the defender has to worry about the screen. Now he has to worry about what you're going to do once you go over the screen. Can you shoot? Is his teammate coming out? Are they hedging? All of these things can go through your mind, and so you're worried about those things. But some traditional offenses don't always start their offense with a pick and roll. So if you're going to run it, you have to be able to deal with that heavy ball pressure. And I'm really big on being physical. Again, like I tell all of my clients, physical doesn't mean punching somebody in the face or kicking them. I don't want anybody injuring someone and say, well, the trainer at Street Cred said I needed to be physical with them and aggressive, so I just punched him in the stomach as I was dribbling. Yeah, we don't operate that way. That shit did not come from us, okay? So, I don't want to hear that. So being physical and being aggressive is just that. You have to be strong in your core, strong in your position, and hold your position. Don't allow them to get so close to you that they're moving you off that position. And of course, you can't just stand there dribbling the ball for 15 seconds. There are 5 seconds. But here's a tidbit. Once you, and it's amazing how so many kids don't know this tidbit. If you're guarding me tight and I use a retreat dribble to create maybe three feet of separation, the referee stops calling. I'm not calling. He stops counting. So if you have the ball and they're counting, right, you have 5 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna go into this a little bit deeper on another time. But if the referee's counting, you got 5 seconds. You use a retreat dribble, create about 3 feet of separation. The referee is no longer counting on those 5 seconds until that defender gets within, I'd say, 2 to 3 feet, and then the referee has to start over. So yes, you can, if you know the play is going to take a little time to develop, you can use a retreat dribble to buy you time. But in a instance where you get the ball and you're running a play and that play is not going to take 5 seconds to get the pass where you need it to, you need to learn how to hold them off. I think what a lot of guards are, there's a lot of, training across the country, people doing these exotic moves and exotic systems. But what I don't see is kids making themselves comfortable with someone up on them. Kids need to be comfortable handling pressure. And when I say handling, I don't mean, okay, so here comes a ball screen, I'm going to go. No, sometimes that defense is going to be able to negate a lot of that, and they're going to force you to have to deal with that pressure. So that's pretty much what I would suggest when it comes to dealing with pressure, being aggressive, using the power dribble to protect yourself, holding them out strong, and punishing them when they make a mistake. If they reach, yeah, drive by them. Get a layup, jump shot, or a pass for open shot. After that first or second time, they're going to stop doing it because they don't want to get beat. Their coach is going to be on their butt, maybe take them out, call a timeout, and reassess how they want to defend, okay? So I really appreciate you, Coach Williams, and, keep them coming. I'll always try to address them or anyone when it comes to a question. Something, I had another person comment, Leonard. He commented about from last week's podcast about the UIL rules and the Duncanville situation. So he didn't really have a question. He just, he was co-signing. Co-signing is a TAS word. It's not a SAT word. It's a TAS word. He co-signed pretty much what I was saying and talking about with, how it works in the school system and how schools treat kids and stuff, or how coaches treat kids for that matter. So yeah, anytime you make a comment, if you have a question on something, I'll be more than glad to put that in and discuss it, because I want to make sure that I'm sharing. So hopefully that information helps Coach going forward. Okay, so what I want to talk about is the triple threat. Now, triple threat is something that I think a lot of players take for granted. Some players learn it in a basic sense, but I don't think players really, really apply it when they're running their offenses. In fact, I think some players run the offense so much like a robot that they don't even take the time when they receive the ball in a pass to be ready to see the court in the triple threat. Now, doesn't mean you got to stand there for 5 seconds to evaluate. If you're going through your progression and you're seeing what's happening, you should be able to assess it. Once you get good at it, you should be able to assess it before you catch the ball, as you're catching the ball, and you should know kind of how you want to attack if you're going to attack. If not, then you're going to swing the ball or pass it or whatever the next step is within that offense. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I don't want to make it seem like the audience are people who are uneducated in basketball, but the history has taught me to just put the information out there. Okay, in the triple threat, there are 3 ways to use the three. I'm sorry, not 3 ways to use it. There are 3 things that you do in the triple threat. In the triple threat, and it's not in any particular order, you can dribble, you can shoot, or you can pass. Okay? Now, in the triple threat, I'll give you a visual. If you're standing, if you have, let's say you have a basketball in your hands, you have the basketball with both hands. We're going to get in the triple threat, and we're going to have the ball on our right side, and our left foot is going to be slightly in front. Okay, we'll have our feet, about maybe 2 to 3 feet apart at an angle to give us balance, and we'll be low. Now, the reason why the ball would be on our right side is if the defender's standing in front of us and the ball is in front of us, the defender can hit the ball. So we want to move the ball away from the defender. So both hands are on the ball. The ball should be on our right hip, kind of slightly up above our right hip, or maybe behind us. Depends. You can have the ball around your hip. Some have it below their right knee if they got longer arms. Some might have the ball up. Just really depends on your comfort level and comfort zone. As you practice it, you'll be able to figure out how to keep the ball away from a defender. Okay, so now you're in that stance. What do you need to do when you're in that stance? Well, you need to be able to understand how the defender is guarding you. If the defender is playing, playing a certain way, now we're going to be able to go into the second part of the triple threat. What I mean by the second part is now there are three things that you can use out of the triple threat. Obviously, we know we can shoot, dribble, pass, but if there's a tight defender on you, you have to be able to figure out how to make that move to pass or to dribble or to shoot. Okay. Now, the three moves that I teach when it comes to what you can do out of the triple threat is the sweep move. Now, what is a sweep move? It is almost exactly what you think it is, the word sweep. So if you have the ball on the right side, you're going to extend your arms and go from right to left, almost like you're sweeping with a broom. Okay, so imagine having your hands on a broomstick and you're sweeping the floor. It's pretty much the same motion. The ball is going to go from right side to left side. Once you sweep, if your left foot is in front, just like what we said, we're still in that same position. When you sweep the ball through, your right foot goes forward in a stepping motion. Okay, so you're going to step forward with your right foot. What that does is that defender should be now on your right side. Stepping through with that right foot allows you to get past that defender and protect yourself in the ball with your right hip and your right side of your body. Because now the ball is on the left side of your body as you're going to dribble and attack. Okay. Sweep move is really good depending on, there are two different ways to use the sweep move. One of the ways to use sweep move is if the defender has his hand high, like if he's kind of his hand is at your eye level, so he's trying to keep you from seeing the goal or just seeing in general, you can sweep up under his arm and attack his side. Okay, attack his side right with that right foot, and you can get past him extremely fast. Okay, now if his hand is lower, now it's the same type of attack move, but instead of going under his arm, you're going to go above his arm. Okay. Now, when you go above his arm, you need to tuck your elbows to make sure that you don't hit someone across the face, because that's not only is that an offensive foul, you can severely hurt someone, and that's not what we want out there. We want to play strong, physical, fast, but we don't want to hurt anyone. So when I teach that technique, I always make sure kids know and understand you have to tuck your elbows in and swing your chest a little bit more to keep yourself from trying to hurt someone, because that's not what you want to do. So sweep move is the first one. Okay. And this is no particular order. Okay. Second one would be jump. I said jump fake. I meant jab step. Jab step is the second one. I love to see the jump fake. Jab step is the another way to use the triple threat. Now, what a jab step is you're stepping. So let's say you still have the ball, and we're going to use that same stance. Ball is on your right side. Your left foot is up. What you want to do is you want to step really quickly and kind of lean and almost jerk your arms with the ball halfway to the left. This motion will often make the defender think that you might be going into a sweep move or you're going left. So when you make that step, and it's a really quick step, boom, right? You jab, you step really quick, and you're stepping only with your left. So your right foot will still be on pivot. You make that jab, that defender shifts over slightly to your left. Now you bring that left foot back over, and now you're stepping on the defender's left side, going towards your right. Now you're shielding the ball from the defender with your left hip. Now, The jab step is just maybe kind of like a fake. You're making the defender think you're gonna go left, and you're actually gonna go right. So they shift that way. Okay. Um, the next one, or the third one, would be pump fake or shot fake. It kind of depends on who's talking, but it's the same thing. Different terminology sometimes. Like for instance, the sweep. Some people use the term rip through. Okay, so and I think there's a few others, but sweep and rip are kind of the ones that I use the most. I tend to go with sweep. I don't know why, but I just go with the sweep move. That's the term I use. So pump fake or jump or pump fake or what was it? Pump fake or shot fake. Okay, so the pump fake, and I'll just stick with pump fake. Pump fake is when you're in the triple threat and you go with the action of faking like you're going to shoot the ball. So you kind of go up into a fake, looks like you're going to shoot. The defender is going, if they're close and they're playing your jump shot, which for some reason everybody does, right? Like you can be 5'9" defender and you're playing a guy who's 6'5" on offense. And that 5'9" defender will try to jump like they're going to block that shot. I don't know why, but it's just kind of like inherent in everyone. We want to try to block somebody's shot. So when you make that upward motion like you're going to shoot, defender comes up or off their feet to contest the shot, and then you can just go whichever way. It could be a quick move to the right side. It could be a quick move to the left side. It's really going to depend upon, the angle that you feel is the best. Now, there are a couple of philosophies on the shot fake or pump fake. Some, when you pump fake, they want you to exaggerate the ball high above your head, right? When you go into it, you go all the way up with the ball up. Okay, I'm more of the second way. Now, the second way, the way I teach, is to not barely bring the ball above your nose up to your eye when you're going into your shooting motion, right? Excuse me. If you go up above your head, the way I see it, and again, this is just my technique, my humble opinion. If there are kids who come in and they bring the ball up above their head, like high, what I tell them is, when you bring the ball that far up, now you have to bring the ball back down and attack. But if you bring the ball slightly above your nose, if you're in a bending position, and you kind of raise up and you bring the ball slightly above your nose, around your eye level, you can immediately go right into your dribble. Okay, that's my opinion. Now, have I seen some people kind of dissect it to see which is faster? I believe the technique of not bringing the ball above your head too high is a few milliseconds or something faster as you attack. Okay, I just like efficiency when I'm doing certain things, and the way I teach that is when I get into more complicated ball handling and advanced moves, that can lead into another move that I could cover at some point in time. So I don't teach, having the ball all the way up above my head, but I've had some kids that when they pump fake, that's how they pump fake. Now I'll share with them, my version, but then I tell them, look, this is the way you've been doing it. If you feel this is really effective for you, then I want you to keep it. I'm never going to force somebody to do something exactly the way I do it, because it might not feel as comfortable for them. And when you're in a pressure situation in a game, you're going to go back to what you feel comfortable with. Okay. Now, obviously there are a few foundational points of the game that I'm more of a stickler to, is that you got to do it. But, that's a lot more with footwork and some other things. But, When it comes to some things, I'm extremely open when I'm training kids because I like to find out what it is that you're comfortable with and what you like. And if it's something you like, then we want to go with that, and I'll just tell you today, hey, look, you got to be aware of this, this, and this. If you're going to bring it above your head, you have to really be sound with going straight directly into your move because it takes a little bit longer for people to bring their ball down, right? Although the person's in the air, you can be stepping as you're bringing the ball down. So those are really the three different ways that you can use the triple threat. The things that you can use out of the triple threat. Now, again, in the triple threat, the three different things that you can do out of the triple threat is pass, shoot, dribble. Not in any particular order, okay? The moves that you use in triple threat are pump fake or shot fake, jab step, or sweep move, okay? Either one of those three is usually, you'd have to try to, explain to me anything other than those three. Because anything that you do out of the triple threat is like gonna always be there. I could be wrong because I'm trying to think, is there any other move that you can use out of the triple threat that's different than those three? And nothing is coming to mind. But hey, if there is, drop me a comment, drop me a line and say, hey man, you don't know the fuck you talking about, man. There's like 6 other ways you can come out of triple threat. There's the spinning kick move, the tippy toe out of the triple threat. There's the rollover. I'm just making this shit up. I don't know if any of this shit applies, but I'm just making it up because I could see somebody try to say, yeah, man, you don't know what the hell you talking about. This is what you do. So those are 3 different things that you can do when it comes to basketball triple threat move. Okay. Yo, I like to give a shout out to my sponsors, Next Style Designs. Next Style Designs makes quality shirts or custom apparel for all occasions. Next Style Designs. Mind Inc. Mind Inc. offers a wide array of digital media. Mind Inc. asks, are you using your mind? Southwest Basketball Showcase Recruiting Service. The link between your coach and your dreams. Maracay Zero Down Solar. Call Greg Suber for your solar needs. PCS Plus is the carpet service for all your cleaning needs. Okay, all right. Now, I was, how do I say this? I noticed that things have changed. Things have changed when it comes to people wearing, the kids when they have their tennis shoes. Hell, some of these kids treat their tennis shoes like $1 million. They come in with their tennis shoes in a case. Now, kids today wear a lot of, restful and comfortable attire for their feet, whether it's flip-flops. Crocs is the big thing. Hey, you never gonna see me wearing no fucking pair of Crocs. That's just me. My wife is like, I'm gonna get you some Crocs. We could put your logo on it. We could get in. Nah, baby, miss me with the Crocs. I'm not wearing Crocs. I don't care how comfortable they are. I'm not wearing Crocs. All right, now, if you wear Crocs, I'm not gonna talk bad about you because you're wearing Crocs. That's just that's your thing. And you can explain to me, man, look, man, they make your feet feel, yeah, nah, dog. I ain't rolling with that. So, yeah, I don't wear Crocs, but kids today, they wear Crocs, they wear flip-flops, and they wear it's called UFAs or something like that. They're different types of shoes that are supposed to be really comfortable. But kids today, they come in and they have their tennis shoes in a bag or in a box or in a case with a security guard next to them or whatever it is. Who knows? And they put their shoes on. And then when they finish, they take their shoes off and they put them back and, they go. Yo, I wasn't fucking raised like that when I played ball, man. I played ball. I had my tennis shoes on when I got out in the house. I put my tennis shoes on and I walked up to the damn court. I'm finna bust somebody's ass. Now, I didn't think about it like that. Now some people, they spend an insane amount of money on tennis shoes. I didn't grow up like that. If it was over a certain amount, my moms and my pops would give me a look like, boy, you done lost your damn mind if you think we gonna spend that much money on some shoes, on some tennis shoes for your feet. So I had pretty good, tennis shoes, but I wore them all the time. Well, okay, take that back. If they were my basketball shoes, I wore them when I was going to play basketball. But I didn't wear them, going to school or just out and about. That's I guess that would be the thing that I did that probably some other people looked at and said, well, why the hell are you have two pairs of tennis shoes? But you did want your tennis shoes, your basketball shoes to last longer. So yeah, if you wore them all the time, they would wear faster. So if I was going to play basketball, then I would put them on and walk to wherever I was. But so, now today's generation, they're not doing that. And it made me think, because it was one of my kids that did this. I mean, they all do it, but for some reason my mind went back in history thinking about it when I saw this kid, one of my kids, coming in and getting ready for the training. There was a guy, and people back at home. I'm from Dallas, if I haven't mentioned it before, South Dallas, Oak Cliff area. There was a guy. His name was, well, I don't even know what his damn name really was, but we called him Thunderdunk. That was the name, we had, because when he dunked, it was like, boom. Now, he was probably 6'2" to 6'4", but he was a big guy. He was kind of in the Charles Barkley mode. Now, he didn't have Charles Barkley's ball handling, but he was big and he used his body like Charles Barkley, and he dunked. And he had a Jerry curl, if I remember correctly, like a long shag or a long Jerry curl. So sometimes he come through flying through the air, and you liable to get Jerry curl juice on your face when he dunked on somebody. I don't even remember if he had Jerry curl, but in any case, he would come straight off the bus, right? Because where we played, it was elementary school, which was close to where I lived. It's called John Neely Bryan, okay? And they had a basketball court, behind the school. So that's where we all played when we, in the evenings, during the week sometimes, when the weather was cool. We go out there and play, and he would get off of work, right? Now, here's the funny thing. Thunderdunk would come straight from work. He'd have his jeans on. And the jeans they weren't skinny jeans, but the jeans weren't like, baggy. They fit, right? And he was wearing boots, not cowboy boots, but like Timberland style work boots. And Thunderdunk would come up there in jeans, work shirt. Sometimes he'd take his work shirt off and the boots, and he would give you work. And we sit around like, man, how the fuck is he playing with them tight jeans on and them damn boots? Sometimes we like, man, he gonna split his pants at some point, because them pants are, they're not like baggy pants. They weren't like skinny jean type, but they weren't baggy. But he came and gave you work in boots and jeans. Like, yo, come on, man. So it made me think like, wow, how far we come, because in the old neighborhoods, the old heads, they come in, they give you work. They coming in any kind of way, right? Hell, you might have some. I saw a video of a guy coming in, and he had like a stethoscope. He was like, no, he wasn't a doctor. I think he might have been a nurse or something. Came in the scrubs in the gym and went to playing, right? So, excuse me. The evolution of tennis shoes has really taken off, because back in my day, I sound like the old man get off my line thing. But back in my day when I was playing, we just balled, right? You had your tennis shoes on and you go. I don't think anybody came to the court in a with another pair of shoes that they put on and they left their other shoes there while they were playing. That shit didn't happen. But today, yo, they got their own backpack for their shoes, you know. And it's really cool to see how kids take care of their shoes. It really is. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little jealousy because I wish I would have had that thought process back when I was playing, because I probably could have had some tennis shoes last a lot longer than than what they did, because I was hard on shoes, man. Playing on that blacktop and stuff, yeah, that just destroyed my tennis shoes. So, but yeah, shout out to Thunderdunk. I remember back in the day when he used to come from work and give people work. Okay, so the things I heard growing up, but didn't know what they meant at the time. Okay, so the word the thing that I remember, it was a term called manage. This is what my grandma and my great grandma had said once. They said, sit your mannish ass down somewhere, right? At the time, I didn't know what it meant. I just kind of thought, well, I guess I'm being bad, or mischievous. I'm into. Now, I wasn't a bad kid. Okay, I'll share some stories later on. I got my ass whooped a couple of times, but for the most part, I was good, right? But that was the term that was used. So I started thinking, like, is that what it really meant? Right? So I started to do some research. I called my mom's and asked her and looked a few things up. And I actually found that there were like 3 other definitions for the word mannish. All right. So my mom, when I asked her, she said she thought it meant being bad. Pretty much kind of what I was saying, right? She said it was like you were trying to be grown. So like if 2 adults are talking and you're a young, kid, 10, 11 or whatever, and you're like sitting around like right up in their face looking at everything they say, they might say, boy, go take your mannish butt on over there. Sitting over here trying to be grown. Go take your mannish butt somewhere and sit down. Okay? That's kind of how I thought it was, right? Well, I looked in the Urban Dictionary. Their meaning and interpretation of mannish was very different. Their definition was something to the effect of, it says that it's more of a sexual reference. So then, like, I think the sentence they used was, his mannish ass grabbed my butt. Like that mannish boy tried to grab my butt, right? So that was where they went with it. Now, I never even considered that as a thing. Okay? Well, I went one step further. And I went to, I think it was Webster's. Webster's, Merriam, I think it's Merriam-Webster's or something like that. But their definition was odd. It said it's a woman who has man characteristics in a bad way. I don't even know what the fuck that mean. I just know that was the definition. I don't even know what a woman having man characteristics in a bad way. Somebody need to explain. I might have to get on the phone and call Webster and say, what the fuck does that mean? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. All right, now I've read it a few times, and then you try to look at different sentences. The sentences, I didn't put down a sentence that they said. The sentence made it worse, right? It didn't make any sense. So I'm more inclined to hold on to my original definition, which is, sit your little bad butt down somewhere. Like what my mom says, manage. And it's spelled MANNISH, manage. Now, I think the root word is man, which kind of gives, some credibility to the what they were saying. Like, I guess you're trying to act like a man, or you're man-ish, but that's not how, because, why would my grandmother tell me to sit my mannish ass down and I'm a boy, right? She not, if she'd have told like my cousin or one of not one of my, she told one of my cousins or my sister that, then okay, I could kind of ride with the Webster's dictionary version. But yeah, that's not how it was played. And I would hear her say it. If you don't get your mannish ass, out of that, stuff in the backyard, or get your mannish ass out of my room, something like that. Yeah, it was like, get your bad ass out of here. Go sit down somewhere. Now, again, I wasn't this terrible kid who was always in trouble, right? But, if they had to lay down the law, they did. Now, I remember one time, and I only did this once, when I was staying, I spent my summers over at my grandmother's house. And when I was younger, my grandmother told me, don't you have your butt over there at that pool hall. Well, of course, when you're told not to do something, now you want to go do it. I don't even think I had any aspirations to go to the pool hall until my grandmother said it. And then it's like, well, what the hell is at the pool hall? Maybe I need to be over there. And some of my, older second, third cousins and stuff would be over there, and they were rough. They were rough, and they had me to go over there with them. Or they had me to go over there with them. So I went over there just so I could be like, man, I'm at the pool hall. Shit. I can't say no somebody told on me, because that's not what happened. But maybe it's just that motherly intuition. She showed up. It was standing at the door. Get your mannish ass on home. Boy, I got my ass whooped all the way from the pool hall to the house, boy. She tore my ass up. I never went to even to this day, I feel weird about going to a pool hall or to something. I'm a grown ass man, and I'm like, my grandmother, God rest her soul, she hasn't been with us since 2001, and till this day, like, man, I don't know. She might just show up. She might just show up ready to whoop my ass again. So I know she probably somewhere laughing and smiling, looking down on me, saying, yep. And if you in there again, I'm going to tear your ass up again. But after that, I was like, I didn't even want to drive by the pool hall. Or if I was on my bike, I'm out, man, I'm going to go around this corner somewhere. It's going to take me 10 miles to get where I'm going, as to where I'm only a mile away. But I'm going to go 10 miles so I can stay the fuck away from that damn pool hall. So, but yeah, that's the term. That's the thing that I didn't understand. I thought I understood it, and I really didn't hear anybody else use that term, other than my grandmother and my great grandmother. Right. So, now I look back on it and it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe that's something I should look into and find out what it meant. So I'm happy to report that I'm actually even happier that there was some type of definition, urban as well as Merriam Dictionary, right? That there were two types of definitions for it. I'm glad that they're in there, because that means that I do remember what the hell I was thinking about. Okay. So that's pretty much all for today. I do want to say, hey, you know what? Let's do a poll. Like I was saying earlier, why don't y'all drop y'all comments on golf versus basketball? Drop your comments in the thing. I think I mentioned it earlier, but drop your comments in the comment section of the video. Let me know what you think. Are there more golf players out there, or is there more basketball being played on any given day? So I hope you guys enjoyed everything today. Look, if I could drop 2 or 3 a week, I would. I have so much stuff that I'm trying to get back into and talk about. I didn't stop uh, having material. So I have an abundance of stuff, and sometimes I be wanting to just get back in the boot like tomorrow or later today, and keep all of these podcasts going. But I'm trying to get more of a flow and more of a routine. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this again. It was exciting for me to bring some of this stuff to you. I think we're in a great place going up, and as usual, the way I ended on all terms, every time I end, hey, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. I'm out. All right, bonus content. Okay, so for my Patreon or Patreon, I'm getting used to the term. For those of you who are subscribing to my Patreon account, these are some things that I'm gonna have bonus content wise. Now, I did mention the 3 effective ways with triple threat. What I didn't mention was what's more effective in any situation. So, in instance, you don't want to use the jab step if somebody's running out there to you and you're catching the ball and they're closing out to defend the 3. You either want to use a pump fake or you want to catch it, and as they're running out, you want to use a sweep move and attack. Okay? Jab steps you really want to use more of if you're just kind of stationary. There are some times when a person's running at you kind of from the side that you can jab, and it makes the defender think you're finna sweep that way, and they go that way and you go the opposite way. But traditionally, the jab step is when you're in a stationary position and they're guarding you, and then you jab and go. But you really want to use the pump fake. I would say pump fake first on somebody who's running out there to you to defend the 3. Give them the pump fake, because if they're running out, if you pump fake, they're going to jump thinking you're going to shoot, and then you have a clear path to the basket. So you want to make sure that you're trying to use them effectively when you can. Sometimes it's going to take you a little bit of time to understand what it is. Sweep move you can use stationary if you're just standing there with the defender on you, or if the defender's closing out. So I would say pump fake or sweep if somebody's closing out at you. Use the jab. You can use all 3 of them when you're stationary, but the jab is probably the most effective when you're stationary, because it gets the defender off his feet thinking you're going to go one way when you're going to end up going to another way. Okay. Now, here's another thing that I start thinking about, because we're always comparing people. So I was kind of asking myself, well, who would you rather have segment? So I'm going to name 2 players, and then I'm just going to say to myself who I would rather have. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that, I don't like one of the persons or something like that. So I'm going to start off with a basketball. I'm going to say, who would I rather have? Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant on my team? Now, Jordan, fearless, very athletic, probably the most athletic guard as far as the way he dribbled to the basket, hung up in the air, and dunked from all different ways. Okay. Kobe actually modeled his game after Jordan. He was like Jordan 2.0. Kobe had better ball handles than Jordan. Jordan could handle the ball. I'm not saying he didn't have any handles, but Kobe had a little bit more, I would say, and one flair to him, with the handles. And Kobe was probably a better shooter than Jordan was earlier. Jordan became a really good shooter later. Kobe was probably shooting a better shooter. I don't know percentage-wise, but he was probably a better shooter earlier. And then as his game got older, he shot more just like Jordan did. Defensively, they were both incredible. Playing the lanes, on the person that they were guarding, help side, all of that stuff. Passing, I would say they were about the same. Okay. Now, who would I rather have taken, or who would I rather have between Jordan and Kobe? I think if you were to put me in a corner, I'd probably have to say Jordan. Simply because Jordan was the first to do it, and his knack for being athletic, getting to the paint, hanging in the air with his dunks and stuff, I don't think it's matched. I mean, Kobe went to the basket, he went baseline, he came through the lane, but I would see Jordan making moves where he catch the ball at the top of the key, give you a pump fake. He take one dribble right, you'd cut him off. He spin move, right? Now somebody else come, he go between his legs, and then he come off of that jump stop and go up and dunk on 2 or 3 people, right? So it wasn't a straight move to the lane. Like, you catch it from the corner, they jump, you pump fake, they jump, you take 1 or 2 bounces straight to the basket, and then you dunk, right? This was more of maneuvering around defenders, through defenders, and then jumping at the last minute. So I would say, if you were to have, who would I rather have? I would say Jordan in this instance, okay? So, doesn't mean I don't like Kobe, right? That has nothing to do with it. It's just, look, that's who I would rather have. You might rather have Kobe. And if you said Kobe over Jordan, I'd have no argument with it. I mean, I really can't. It's just kind of what do you feel better? Now, the thing that I have is the ability to say I've seen them both play. I mean, I know it shows my age, but I've seen them both play. Not like live, but I saw Jordan play back in the 80s and 90s. I saw Kobe play from 90s to, when he retired. Okay, so to me, you can't go wrong with either one. Now, I want to go into the top criteria. Okay, on the first one, I mentioned criteria for, the all-time players, things like that. And, I'm building trying to build it. So one of my, one of the people who heard the podcast sent me his 3 criteria for a top 5 player. His criteria was, he felt that person needed to have more than 1 MVP. That's like, MVP of the league. So, for instance, Steph Curry has 2 MVPs, right? He had them back to back. Jokic just got 2 MVPs. Okay? So, off the top of your head, those 2 would be up for one of these top 5. Now, his second criteria was to have at least 1 final MVP. Okay? So if those were 2 of the criteria, then we would have to take Jokic off because he hasn't been to the NBA Finals. Curry could stay on because he has a Finals MVP. Okay? His last criteria would be that they were a Hall of Fame player. Now, when you talk about Hall of Fame players, a lot of people are talking about the fact that, people who are still playing, like, shit, I didn't see anywhere some dude is his rookie year, and after 3 games, oh my God, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Well, you got to let him play his whole career. So I think we are quick to put people in the Hall of Fame without a body of work. But I think it's safe to say that Steph Curry, who is considered the greatest shooter in the world, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, even on one of his MVPs, it was unanimous. And as far as I know, There was no other NBA player that got a unanimous MVP. Okay, so he would be, of those two players, those three criteria, I would say make him, one of those top five. Now, we haven't finished criteria yet. Okay. I'll announce my criteria on the next podcast, in the next bonus content. I'm gonna put my criteria out there. 3 to 5 criteria is probably, what I would suggest. And I think we can take something from everybody's criteria that submits it, and then towards the end of maybe like our fifth, no, not our fifth, maybe by the end of our seventh or eighth podcast, then we can come up with the actual criteria that we created. Now we can look at the pool of players and name them, because this Hall of Fame stuff to me is starting to get watered down. They had the top 75 players in the NBA, and you look at some of their lists, and some of those guys, like, okay, I see why you have them on there, but it's becoming, some people say it's becoming a little too much inclusive. Even Deion Sanders said that the Hall of Fame is not the Hall of Fame anymore because they're letting anybody in. So some of that stuff is subjective, and I think, you need to put out a list, because you can make it really easy and you just take your feelings out. Maybe your best play, maybe the best player, maybe you're a fan of Charles Barkley, all right? Charles Barkley, I'm a fan of. Saw him playing everything. But if he don't meet the criteria we put down, we can't put his ass on the list. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Last thing is, I just appreciate, Leonard commenting on the previous podcast, and I hope, we can continue to add stuff to the podcast and have more dialogue going, because I think it's important to have different points of view of stuff, because, everybody has different things, and sometimes you listen to somebody else and you're like, damn, that was different. Hey, the other thing that I got coming is, hopefully, probably on the next one, I'm going to be able to have something that I just came up with. I have I have a student who has a couple of foreign exchange students staying with them. One is German and one is Italian. So I thought it would be cool to have them teach me words, because I'm fascinated with other language. I'm fascinated with it, with learning other languages. So, but Russian is one of my favorite to learn, because I've heard it on movies, and that shit just sounds so smooth when they say it. And I'm like, ooh. So, and German's another one. Now, Italian to me sounds more Spanish, right? But I still love the way Spanish and Italian. It's really not any language that I just say, that shit sound nasty. It sounds terrible. I don't want to learn that. It's nothing like that. But I really love this. So they told me a word, a basketball term. So I said, let's keep it basketball. They gave me a basketball term, and then they told me what it was in German, and then the other one gave me the term for a basketball term in Italian, right? I got it on video. So on the next podcast, that should be dropping, and then I'll probably have my rebuttal, because I told them, give me a week so I can learn it a little bit, and then I'll be able to pronounce it, and I want to make sure it's stuck in my head. I'm pretty much there already, but I just want to fine tune it. All right, so enjoy this content. I'm gonna be pumping out a lot more content. I'm starting to take little video clips of me doing stuff here and there that, want to let you guys learn and understand more about me. All right? I'll holler at you later.